Hi guys, please like, share and subscribe and contact this number if you want full lectures of any CM or CS subjects. Thank you. Okay, hello and welcome guys. I'm starting with chapter number 4 of subject CM1, that is time value of money. So in this chapter I'll basically be talking about time value of money, that is the worth of money and how it changes with time. But before that I just want to discuss cash flow based products with you. Okay, that is the entire theme of this subject CM1, that are what are cash flow generating products, or what are cash flow generating contracts. Okay, so to understand cash flow generating contracts, I would take a very simple example, that is of a bank loan, and we'll look at it from both the perspectives. We'll look at it from the perspective of the bank, which is one party involved, which lends to the customer, and then on the other side we'll look at it from the side of the borrower. Okay, so we'll look at it from both the sides. Okay, now in case of a bank loan, if you think about it, what happens is, in the very beginning there is a transfer of money from the bank to the borrower. Okay, that is the initial loan granted. Maybe let's say at time 0, I'm drawing the timeline of both the bank and the borrower. The loan granted by the bank is 5 lakh rupees. Okay, or 5 lakh pounds, or whatever you want to take it. Let's take it in pounds. 5 lakh pounds is the loan granted. So this is an outflow for the bank, so I'll write it with a negative sign, and it is an inflow for the borrower, so I'll write it with a positive sign. Okay, positive sign here, negative sign here. Now let's say this loan is to be repaid in 5 installments of 1,10,000 each. Okay, 1,10,000 pounds, 110,000 pounds each. So at time 1, the first installment will be due. This will be received by the bank from the borrower. It will be an inflow for the bank and outflow for the borrower. So 1,10,000, an inflow for the bank and an outflow for the borrower, 110,000. Right, so that is how it will work. At time 2, there will be another inflow for the bank, 110,000, and an outflow for the borrower. Okay, minus 110,000. So you can see, whenever there are two parties involved in the transaction, whatever is an inflow for one party, it is an outflow for another party, and that's how it works. Money transfers from one person to another. Okay, also you must notice that the amount initially given by the bank to the borrower is 5 lakh, and the amount returned back from the borrower to the bank would be 1,10,000 into 5, that is 5,50,000 pounds. So this difference of 50,000 pounds is interest. That is also one thing we'll talk about in this chapter. But before that, now that you have understood cash flows, I'll try to discuss the assumptions of this unit with you. Okay, and these assumptions were applicable throughout subject CT1, which used to exist earlier, subject CT1. But now, as half of CM1 is CT1 and half of CM1 is CT5, these assumptions are applicable up till those chapters which are related to CT1 and not applicable thereafter. Okay, and that's one thing you need to mind. So I'll tell you when, we'll start with the life insurance products which are strictly related to subject CT5, where these assumptions will not apply. At least one of these assumptions will not apply. Okay, and the other one will. Okay, so now what are these assumptions? Okay, let's go over them one by one. First assumption is that these cash flows, whatever cash flow, inflow or outflow that occurs from either side, is certain. Okay, so the cash flows are certain, both in terms of the timing and the amount of their payment. Timing and amount. So it is definite that this amount of money, 1,10,000, will be paid every 1 year by the borrower to the bank. and it is certain that this 500,000 was paid by the bank to the borrower at the outset. Okay, this is certain. This is not dependent on happening or non-happening of a particular event. Okay, those cash flows are basically contingent cash flows that depend on an event, and in our later chapters when we get into the mathematics of life insurance, they will depend on survival or death of a life. But for now we are talking about contracts where the cash flows are certain. That's one thing to be noted. The second thing here to be noted is that the interest rate is deterministic. Interest rate is deterministic. This assumption will it will operate throughout this chapter. Okay, entire CM1. This was only applicable to CT1. This is applicable to entire CM1. What do I mean by deterministic interest rate? Okay, deterministic interest rate is one which is already known in advance. So maybe what happens here is that, you know, the interest rate that we will be using to discount these cash flows, we'll get to discounting of cash flows. Okay, so basically the idea is the interest rate that prevails in the economy is used to discount these cash flows. Okay, so now interest rate is deterministic means that interest rate is known in advance. Known in advance, that is, we already know that for the next 5 years the interest rate would be, let's say, 6% or 5%. It would be given to you. Some fixed interest rate would be given, and it is known in advance. This is not a realistic assumption. Why? Because in real life what happens is that this interest rate is not deterministic, it is stochastic. That is, interest rate is never known in advance. Certainly it can change in the future. It is determined by the central bank of the economy. In India it is RBI, in UK it is the Reserve, the London Reserve Bank, I believe. So those are the banks that determine the interest rate, and based on which you know, the overall interest rate in the economy are determined. So interest rate can change in the future. It is stochastic or it is random. It is basically a random variable in the future, and it cannot be known with certainty. If today the interest rate is known to be 5%, next year it can become 6%, or it can become 4%. It can go from being 5% at time 0 to anything, 6%, 4% at time 1. Every year, the, you know, even every 3 months your interest rate can change, right? So interest rate in real life is stochastic. It is a random variable. It changes with time. But in this subject we will assume that we know the interest rate and it is deterministic. It is known in advance. Okay, so these are two assumptions that you must remember for this part of the subject. Okay, now let's get into time value of money. What is time value of money? The idea of time value of money. Time value of money basically says that money right now, okay, money right now is superior to money in the future. That is the idea of time value of money. That is, if I pay you 1 lakh rupees right now or 1 lakh pounds right now, you will prefer it to me paying you 1 lakh pounds probably, let's say, at 1 year later. Okay, so 1 year later 1 lakh pounds or 100,000 pounds is worse than 100,000 pounds right now. And what is the reason behind it? Psychologically, if I ask you right now that, you know, why would you prefer receiving 100,000 pounds right now instead of receiving 100,000 pounds 1 year down the line? So the two reasons for this are, the first reason is inflation. Okay, probably with this 1 lakh that you receive, you want to buy some goods. Okay, now we all know that in general inflation is positive. That is, the price of commodities increases over time. Okay, so what costs 100,000 pounds right now will cost more 1 year down the line. So you would rather have this 100,000 pounds right now and you would buy that thing right now instead of being able to buy less of that thing 1 year down the line. So inflation is a primary reason for time value of money, that, you know, money loses its worth over time. What is the second reason? The second reason is uncertainty with payment. Now I told you that these are certain payments, okay, we are dealing with, but they are not completely certain. There is still some uncertainty around them. That is, what if a bank tells you that I'll be making you this payment of 100,000 pounds 1 year down the line. But what if the bank crashes, or the bank fails, it goes bankrupt? That has happened before. Lehman Brothers was an investment bank which went bankrupt during the subprime debt crisis in the US. So these things, they have a very low probability. They don't happen every day, but they just might happen. So there is some uncertainty around this payment. So you would rather be like, don't give me that payment 1 year down the line. Give it to me right now, because right now you just I can see the cash. I see you have the cash, so give it to me right now. So the idea is that you would prefer this money, receiving this money right now. So now we are clear on this idea that money right now is superior to money in the future. So what is the idea of interest? Now let's move on to the idea of interest. So now I'll ask you a different question. If I ask you that I will give you 100,000 pounds right now, against this, how much extra money do you want 1 year down the line that you will be indifferent between these two options? That is, you will be fine taking either one of them. Okay. So if you tell me that you will be fine taking 105,000 pounds 1 year down the line instead of 100,000 pounds right now, okay, you will be indifferent between these two options. That is, you want 5,000 pounds extra if I pay you 1 year down the line instead of right now. This 5,000 pounds right now, this extra this 5,000 pounds, this extra amount is the interest. Okay, this is the interest. And since we have seen that these two are both equivalent, we can say that the present value of 105,000 pounds 1 year down the line, that is, I'll write at time 1. Time 1 means 1 year down the line, is 100,000 pounds. Therefore, the difference between the two is the interest. So interest is 105,000 pounds minus 100,000 pounds. That is 5,000 pounds is your interest. So conclusively, I can say one thing, that the value, the present value at time 0 is called as the present value. The value in the future at a future time is called as the future value or accumulated value. That is, what is 100,000 pounds right now worth 1 year down the line? It's worth 105,000 pounds, because that's an amount you are indifferent about. And what is interest? Interest is basically the difference of the two. So interest is basically accumulated value minus the present value. Okay, and what is interest conceptually? It is the price for time value of money. That is, what is the extra amount that you need in order to make accumulated value a similar option or an indifferent option to the present value. What is that extra amount you want? That is your interest. Okay, so this is the idea of interest. Okay, so now the next question is, how is the interest added to our sum of money? Okay, we've already seen that interest is the difference between the accumulated value and the present value. That is the extra amount you get for letting go present value and taking money in the future. Or it is basically the amount that if you'll invest some amount today, you'll give 1 lakh today, what is the extra amount that you'll get 1 year down the line? Okay, so that is the idea of interest for you. Okay, now if we talk about how is interest added. So interest is added in two ways. It is either added as simple interest or compound interest. Now what does simple interest mean? Simple interest means that interest is only paid on the principal amount. That is the initial amount which is invested. Okay, or which was the initial amount which was put up into the bank account. Okay, in our previous example it was 1 lakh. Okay, and compound interest means interest on principal as well as interest on all the past interest which has been paid. Okay, so let's try to understand these two through an example. Okay, let's talk about simple and compound interest. Suppose, let's say we have an initial principal of, same as the last example, 100,000 pounds. Okay, so how will it grow if I invest it in an account paying 10% per annum simple interest and or paying 10% per annum compound interest? Okay, so at time 0 I have 100,000. What will be the value 1 year down the line? It will be 110,000 pounds, right? If I add 10% of the initial amount which was 100,000, 10% is 10,000 which is added to this. Then next year it will be 120 because again 10,000 will be added. Next year it will be 130, 10,000 added. So every time 10% of only the original amount which was 100,000 is added. Okay, it becomes 140, so on and so forth. Okay, so every time only 10% of the original amount, that is the principal, is added. If you will see, the amount, the accumulated value with time is growing linearly. At time 0 it was 100,000 and then it grows in a linear way. Okay, the growth here will be exponential in case of compound interest. So what happens with compound interest is at time 0 you have 100,000. At time 1 it becomes same as the simple interest, 110,000. 10% is added here. Okay, so the amount of interest every time here was constant. It was every time it was 10k being added, right? In this case it is 10% of this. Now after this, 10% of the original amount, that is the principal, is added, and 10% of the past interest, that is 10,000, 10% of that is also added. So of the original amount 10% is 10,000 and of the past interest 10,000, 10% is 1,000. So 11,000 will be added. This becomes 121,000, right? Okay, next term, 10,000 of the original one and 2,100 of the past interest. Past interest has been 21,000, 2,100, 10% of that is added. So in total you will be adding 12,100. So it just becomes 133,100. Alright, and then in the next term as well you will add 10 more percent to it. So that will be equal to 146,410. So that is how it grows. The growth here is exponentially fast. Okay, first time it is only growing with 10,000, then it grows with 11,000, then it grows with 12,100, then it is growing with a higher amount. So if you see, the accumulated value with time is increasing exponentially fast. Okay, it increases exponentially fast, faster than the linear growth is observed here. Okay, and interest is earned not only the original principal, but also on the past interest. Okay, so that is how it works. Now let's discuss the formula of these two. Okay, so to simplify the above argument, we just know that accumulated value is equal to the present value plus the past interest, right? That is the simple argument we have, because interest is equal to accumulated value plus minus the present value, right? So whatever is your original amount, you add interest to it, you should get the accumulated value. In case of simple interest, the interest amount can be found out directly as a percentage of the present value. Okay, so basically it is equal to the present value into the interest rate into the number of terms that have passed. So I can write this as n. Okay. So simply speaking, your accumulated value is equal to the present value into 1 plus n into I. N being the number of terms which have passed, the number of compounding periods that have occurred, and I being the rate of interest. As for compound interest, accumulated value becomes present value into 1 plus I to the power of n. Okay, and the reason for this is that there is a compound increase. So whatever was your initial amount, that many times this accumulation factor is multiplied to your present value to get the accumulated value. Okay. Okay, so let's take this very easy questions. It says, what is the accumulated value at time 6 of an amount of 5,000 deposited for 6 years and 3 plus 3 years under 10% per annum compound interest, and case 2 is 10% per annum simple interest. Now what do I mean by these two? 6 years is the term here. This is one case that I've got. Let's call it case 1. And 3 plus 3 years is, we'll call it case 2. Okay, where the amount is invested. Let's think of it as a fixed deposit of first 3 years. So there is a term deposit of 3 years. First it is invested for 3 years and then it is withdrawn and invested again for 3 years. Okay, so that is what is happening. First it gets invested for 3 years and then it is withdrawn and gets invested for 3 years again. Okay, and we want to find the accumulated value at time 6 when there is 10% per annum compound interest or simple interest respectively. Okay, so let's try to go for compound interest first. So if I invest 5,000 for 6 years, it becomes 5,000 into 1 plus I to the power of n, that is 6. So 1.1 to the power of 6, it becomes 8858. Okay, if I go under case 2 where it is invested for 3 years and then withdrawn and invested again for 3 years, it becomes the same amount, 8858. So first you invest for 3 years, so 5,000 into 1 plus I to the power of 3, that is 6655, and then again invested for 3 years, it becomes 6655 into 1.1 to the power of 3, 8858 only. Okay, so it is just the same amount. It doesn't matter every time you withdraw and invest again, and it just doesn't matter. Okay, but under simple interest it would matter. So if you invest for 6 years directly, 5,000 into 1 plus ni, that is 0.1 is the interest rate, and n that is the term 6. Okay, it just becomes 8,000. But if you withdraw and invest again, so accumulated value at time 3 will be 6,500, that is 5,000 into 1 plus 3 into I. Then this amount is invested again for 3 years, it becomes 8450, and 8450 is greater than 8,000. So an investor can simply make more money under simple interest by withdrawing the amount and investing it again. That is the difference you must be able to see, which is not possible under compound interest. You cannot do this sort of an activity under compound interest and make more money, but under simple interest you can. So that is why banks usually don't pay simple interest. They would pay compound interest, because paying simple interest would lead to arbitrage opportunities. And what do I mean by arbitrage? Arbitrage means making risk-free profit. Okay, that is making profit without taking any additional risk. And it is a principle of finance that in an efficient market you cannot make profit until and unless you take additional risk. Here the investor has not taken any risk. He has just taken the out the amount at time 3 and then invested again. And if he does this more frequently, he'll be making higher amounts of profit. Okay, because he is also earning under the usual case of simple interest, he does not earn interest on past interest. But when he withdraws and invests again, that past interest also becomes a part of the principal on which he makes interest. So that way, it becomes beneficial to withdraw and invest again. And that is why practically simple interest is not popular, and amounts are usually invested at compound interest. Okay, and the mathematics of it you would have gotten okay only. Okay, so let's move on ahead. Okay, let's just move on to the next thing. Let's look at the concept of present value. Now, what is present value? Let's discuss the idea first. Okay, we have already discussed that accumulated value is the value in the future. So, if you have, let's say, 10,000 pounds right now, what will be the at time 0? Right now is always time 0. What will be the value of this at time 4? Okay, if I invest this for 4 years at a given interest rate, what is its value? This is your accumulated value. This is the idea of accumulated value. So what is present value? It is just the opposite of this. How? If you want, basically at time 4, if you want 10,000 pounds, then how much will you have to invest right now in order to get 10,000 pounds at time 4? So this will be your present value. Okay, it's just the discounted value of this. When you accumulate this 10,000 for 4 years, this gives you your accumulated value of 10,000. When you discount this 10,000 for 4 years, this gives you your present value for 4 years of this 10,000 at time 4, right? So that is how it works. Okay, that's how you accumulate and discount. Now let's just move to an example of how do we do this. So let's take this question. What is the amount that will be required to be invested for 4 years at 10% per annum with simple interest and compound interest? This is part A and this is part B, to get 10,000. Okay, so you want 10,000 at time 4. Okay, what is the amount that you will invest right now in order to get 10,000 pounds under simple interest and under compound interest? Okay, so we already know that under simple interest, accumulated value is equal to present value into 1 plus ni. So your present value can be calculated as accumulated value upon 1 plus ni, right? And in this case of compound interest, your present value will be, since your accumulated value is equal to present value into 1 plus I to the power of n, accumulated present value becomes, by sending this on the left hand side, accumulated value upon 1 plus I to the power of n. Okay, so that is how it works, right? So let's just do this for this particular question. If you look at this particular question, at time 4 I want 10,000. Okay, so my accumulated value in both the cases is 10,000. My term n is 4 years. Okay, n is 4 years. Interest rate is 10%, 0.1, and your accumulated value is given as 10,000. So you can work this out under both the cases. Your present value under this case will be 10,000 into 1 plus 0.1 into 4. You can just calculate this, and under this case it will be, present value will be equal to 10,000 upon 1 plus 0.1, that is 1.1 whole to the power of 4, right? That is what it will become. Let's just calculate these. So these are your answers. Under simple interest you will have to invest 7142 pounds, and under compound interest you will only have to invest 6830 pounds. The reason that you have to invest lesser under compound interest is because your interest will also earn interest, so you can invest lesser and earn more, because the interest you accumulate every year will also get interest in all the future years. Okay, so that's how it works. Now let's move on.